weekly program about important issues and events in the two Virginias.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of In Focus. This morning, we're featuring something you don't see every day. Honors for a Revolutionary War soldier. His name was Richard Bailey, and he's been gone since the early 1800s. But some local American Legion, Mercer County Post 54 members, and Mercer County Veterans Honor Guard, and even some of Bailey's descendants met at his grave recently to honor him. Also, some members of the Sons and Daughters of the American Revolution as well. It was a beautiful ceremony in Bluefield, Virginia at the end of last month. And in fact, here's some video from that ceremony in late October. And we'll be playing this for segment 2 for you to hear some of the audio. But Bailey is buried in a private cemetery along with some of his other relatives right outside Leatherwood Farms in Bluefield, Virginia. Joining me now in the studio to share more information are Jim Worsham, the chaplain for American Legion Mercer County Post 54, located in Princeton. Also joining us are Dave Bailey, sitting right next to me, commander of the American Legion Post 54 in Princeton, and also a descendant of Bailey. And Kevin Pruitt on the end joins us. He's also a descendant and the president of the local Sons of American Revolution chapter. Thank all of you. I want to thank all of you for joining us today.
Welcome.
Pleasure to have you here. So Jim, I'll start with you. You have a background in history, so share with us, how did you find out about Richard Bailey, this Revolutionary War soldier buried in Bluefield, Virginia?
Well, it was quite by accident. I moved to Bluefield in 1980, and I was exploring the area, and I saw that little small private cemetery, and I went over and looked, and I was surprised. There was Richard Bailey, Virginia Militia, Revolutionary War, and there it was.
Wow, fantastic. So, Dave, how did you find out that you're actually related to Bailey, and how are you related to him?
All the Baileys are related. All of us. We're all cousins right here, except for Jim. He's an outsider. But my family came out of Beartown, and that was a lot of his descendants, Richard Bailey's descendants, went into Beartown.
Now, where's Beartown? I'm not familiar with that.
That's over in McDowell, well, edge of McDowell, Mercer County. And Andrew Jackson Bailey was at the turn of the century. In the 1900s, he was sheriff in Wyoming County. He also became a superintendent of schools. He couldn't read, write, or do arithmetic. He learned it on his own.
Wow.
And he was one of the direct descendants from Richard Bailey.
Incredible. And also, Kevin, you're related directly to Richard Bailey, so how are you related to him?
He's my 6th great-grandfather.
So how did you find that out?
Doing my genealogy to get into the Sons of the American Revolution. You've got to have documented proof for every generation. And it gets kind of hard to get when you get back to the 18th century.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Jim, how did you find out about the descendants of Richard Bailey then?
Well, it was quite by accident also. Dave here went to a family reunion and mentioned about the grave and found out Kevin here. And so that worked out well.
What does it mean for you all to honor Richard Bailey in this way?
What does it mean to me? If you stop and think about the Revolution, that these soldiers, these patriot soldiers, they were amateurs and they were facing professionals. And that to me is just awesome what they did face, from the line of fire out there and them all firing at once. And they were willing to stand out there and do it. If you've seen the movie The Patriot, that gives you some idea of what life is like for these people.
So based on everyone's research, what can you tell us about Richard Bailey? I guess, Kevin, I'll talk to you because I was talking with you at the cemetery that
Well, he was born around 1735 in Wigham, Lancashire, England. And then he came over around 1756, 1759. He was in Chesterfield County, Virginia. And then he moved into this part of the... Rumor has it he knew Daniel Boone, and they talked about this part of the world because this was the frontier then.
Yeah.
And around 1777, he moved into Bluefield, what is Bluefield, Virginia now. And John Goulding Davidson was already here, and together they built the fort, which was known as the Bailey-Davidson Fort, behind Westgate Shopping Center.
First, we learned of the actual grave of a Revolutionary War soldier, and then we discovered that a direct descendant of this man lived locally. Then this event was planned. The veteran we're honoring today is Richard Bailey, who served in the Virginia Militia during the Revolutionary War. This is his grave. And a group of veterans, the Sons of the American Revolution, joined together to honor one of our country's first veterans. Today, we're doing just that. Post 54 Mercer County Veterans Honor Guard will fire 2 volleys over Richard Bailey's grave, such as Richard himself actually used. The 3 volleys fired represent duty, honor, and country. And then, in honor of all veterans, we're going to play taps. After the firing ceremony, I'm going to give you a couple of insights about the impact of veterans like Richard Bailey. Commander Bailey, take over your detachment.
Sir. Revolutionary Army. Ready. Hey. Give fire. Recover. On. Honor guard. Shoot. Forward. Ready. Hey. Fire. Hey. Fire. Crazy. Out. Ready. Hey. Give fire. Recover. On. Honor guard. Shoot. Forward. Ready. Hey. Fire. Hey. Fire. Crazy.
Over 250,000 American men served in the armed forces that won our independence. Between 80 and 90,000 of them served in the Continental Army, an all-volunteer army of citizens. All these men risked their lives. About 7,000 died in battle. At least 17,000 soldiers died of disease or in accidents. As many as 25,000 men were disabled by disease, wounds, or injuries that sustained in service. Those who survived the war became America's first veterans, the first veterans of an army of free men. The American Republic owes its existence to these men. Thank you all for coming. God bless you all, and God bless America.
Welcome back to this edition of In Focus, everyone. This morning we've been talking about Richard Bailey, a Revolutionary War soldier for the Virginia militia who's buried in Bluefield, Virginia. You saw a ceremony honoring him. But really, Veterans Day, it's approaching. It's a holiday honoring the end of World War I, which ended on November 11th, 1918. But this is also a holiday to honor all those who served, including those no longer with us. So Greg, I'll start with you. Why is Veterans Day so important in telling the stories of those who are no longer with us, who did serve?
As I said earlier, to me, one of the biggest things is the fact that freedom isn't free. And we're honoring soldiers who, many of them gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life so that we can enjoy the freedoms of this country today. And then every soldier that served has a job within the military. Everything has a purpose.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
so they all need to be honored.
Absolutely. And Dave, what about you? Let's talk about the importance of Veterans Day and honoring all of those who served.
Well, there's so many that has fallen to save this country, to protect it. And those who do not know their past are destined to repeat it in the future.
Right, exactly. And then Kevin, what would you like to add about just the importance of Veterans Day and honoring those who served?
our history and our heritage, and you know, the sacrifices that the American Revolutionary War soldiers made to give us the ability to debate and have our constitutional form of government that we have.
Yeah, and you all are so well versed in American history. We were talking a little bit on commercial break about some battles in the American Revolution. What are some resources, or do you all have suggestions for folks who are really interested in learning more about any part of American history, perhaps American Revolution or a different part of history? What are some resources available for them?
Records, books, videos.
You've got Google now. You can pretty much, you know, it's at your fingertips.
Do you all like meet regularly though for like maybe could the public ever get in touch with you?
Oh, yes. You
Okay.
Sons of the American Revolution, we meet the third Monday of every month at 6:30 at Texas Steakhouse in Princeton.
Okay. Would that be open to the public to get in touch with you, or what's the best way if someone was truly interested in learning more, and especially about what you all do? What's the best way to get in touch? Do you all
Well,
have
they could call me personally, 304-466-6873.
All right. Well, there we go.
With Mercer County Veterans Guard, you can call any funeral home in the area, or you can call me directly, 304-952-8152.
Fantastic. We have just a little bit of time left in this segment, but I'd like to get concluding thoughts from all of you just on something like the memorial that we were all a part of for Richard Bailey. Why is that important to continue to pay tribute all these centuries, decades later?
Richard Bailey was one of the first settlers in our area. And as we've talked before, this at the time was a Virginia frontier, and it was dominated by Native Americans. They came into this area, many of them fought, many of them were taken captives at times by the natives, but they were all instrumental in bringing what is considered now in civilization westward.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to know that history, as you all have been saying, because history can repeat itself, but you have to know your history too. And Dave, some concluding thoughts from you. What do you hope that the viewers take away from our show this morning? Maybe one or two takeaways from everything we've talked about today.
Well, we do a lot of funerals in the area, and we go to some strange grave sites. And there's a lot of graves that people don't even know are there, just like the Poor Farm.
Yeah.
I mean, Bill Archer and those guys, they've worked their tails off to try to locate these graves and get head markers up. Yeah. Well, Richard Bailey, they took up a lot of the head markers there. And we're still trying to figure out where they belong and so on and so forth. And these people need to be remembered.
Right.
They gave us our future.
We've run out of time, but I want to thank everyone for coming in this morning. Thank you all, and Jim Worsham also for coming in today. Really appreciate all of you. And that does it for this edition of In Focus. If you have an idea for a segment, you can send me an email. It's mzosh, M-Z-O-S-H, @WVVA.com. Have a great day, everyone.